Bail and Breha Organa were the loving adopted parents of our sorely missed Princess Leia Organa. At the age of 16, Breha Organa, or Breha, she underwent her Day of Demand, which is 3 challenges that she had to take in order to show that she'd be worthy as a ruler of Alderaan. Ugh. They sit on you one moment, and the other moment they run away. In her 3rd challenge, she was really injured, and her lungs and heart were so damaged that they had to be removed. And this meant that her body would be so taxed, so the risk of having children, it was just not profitable. Bail, once she married Bail, and after the Battle of Naboo, he became senator. He was part of the loyalists of the New Republic government, and eventually, at the outbreak of the Clone Wars, he did go on some mercy missions. So he was part of the relief mission during the Battle of Christophsis. He also was part of a trade mission with Senator Binks to Todaria. Back on Alderaan, he did witness the attempted execution of Padme Amidala, as he was very good friends with Padme and Mon Mothma. Also on Coruscant, he was part of the hostage crisis when the bounty hunter... Oh my gosh, cat hair. The bounty hunter Bane took them hostage. But, of course, Anakin saved them. By the time Order 66 occurred, he witnessed the fall of the Jedi Temple, and he went to help. And of course, this is where he watched the clone troopers shoot down a Jedi, Zet Jukasa. In his frustration and rage, he raced off to a ship, the Tantive 4, and fled Coruscant. He eventually met with Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they discovered that there was a Jedi beacon that was calling the Jedi to return home who weren't executed in Order 66. But of course, it was a trap. So, returning to Coruscant, Bail is actually called to the Senate for an emergency meeting. So, Yoda and Obi-Wan go to the Jedi temples and discover that Darth Vader, who was once Anakin Skywalker, had killed the Jedi in the temple. Yoda sends Obi-Wan off to kill Darth Vader, his once friend, and Palpatine gets a visit from his little green friend, where they fight, and Yoda loses. Bail picks up Yoda as he flees, and they then go off to Paulus Massey. And at this time, this is when Obi-Wan and Vader were fighting, and ultimately Vader loses the battle, but does not die. Obi-Wan brings the now ailing Padme Amidala to Paulus Massey, where she gives birth to Luke and Leia. Bail quickly knows that it is his destiny to adopt Leia, so he takes her to Alderaan, where she becomes princess, but she still knows that she's adopted, and it's a well-known fact. When she does her Day of Demand, eventually by the time she's 16, she actually eventually will do her last task with her mother, Breha. Breha at this time was a mentor and minister of education, and she even mentored a pilot who was the last surviving Y-Wing in the Battle of Yavin. In the Dark Times, Bail actually accidentally met up with Ahsoka Tano and helped her get some information on the 6th brother, one of the Inquisitors, where she was able to defeat that Inquisitor. At the same time, she needed help and helped her friends who were farmers on the planet of Rada. And a lot of these farmers, which Bail then evacuated them, became members of the rebellion as farmers make excellent soldiers. Being a farmer. So, at this time, he was secretly setting up a lot of rebel cells and helping them, but he was still a senator. And he helped set up the base on Dantooine, and he also set up the base on Crate, which Leia would eventually discover when she went there herself and found her father. She didn't know that her parents were part of the rebellion, but during this time, she was suspicious that they were keeping secrets from her and growing apart, and she was just getting more and more frustrated. And that's why she went off on her own little secret mission to Crate. Unfortunately, Grand Moff Tarkin, grew suspicious and confronted the Alderaanian family at a dinner party. And they all kind of faked a situation where Breha was like, Bail, you're having an affair, oh my gosh, and Leia's sitting there crying, and of course it was fake, but Tarkin, being so uptight, believed them, just being like, you guys clearly aren't smart enough to be rebels, so I'm out of here. He leaves.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
There was one time where, actually, when Leia was very young, Bail had some interactions with Saw Gerrera, and that's when Leia met Jyn Erso, but we don't know the circumstances. In the days leading up to the unveil of the first Death Star, we know at one point Breha had given the necklace that Leia wears in the final ceremony, as it survived Alderaan. When the first Death Star unleashed its power on Jedha City, and Jyn Erso pleaded with the rebels on Yavin 4, Mon Mothma suggests to Bail that you should go get your Jedi friend. But unfortunately, he was not able to undergo that task, as he knew he must return to Alderaan and warn them that peace was not coming and it was now war. So, he sends Leia, as she is the only one that he can truly trust. As we know, Leia is captured by Darth Vader, her real father, but she doesn't know that. Breha and Bail, for agonizing days, wait to hear news of their daughter, but all they know is the ship, Tantive 4, was destroyed. When Bail finally goes to see Breha back on Alderaan, a shadow fell across the balcony, draping them both in cold and sudden darkness. She reached for Bail instinctively, looping her arm in his as they both turned in unison to face the valley. Breha shielded her eyes with the flat of her hand, gazing up at the sky and at the massive object slowly moving across the sun. In an instant, the thing had obscured the sun completely. What could be so large? Breha murmured. Fear knotted tightly in her stomach, and she clung harder to her husband. What was she seeing? She had witnessed an eclipse once on Coruscant, but this was so much faster, so unnatural. Beside her, Bail gasped and then seemed to go limp. He turned to her, eyes empty, mouth moving but silent. At last he found his voice and searched the ground at her feet. The planet killer. She fought back the surge of nausea that slammed into her like a breaking wave and placed her hands on his face, forcing Bail to look at her. It couldn't be true. Not Alderaan. They were the heart of the galaxy, a major planet, a bastion of tradition and peace and prosperity. The perfect symbol to destroy. The perfect message to send. No planet was too sacred, too populous. No planet was safe. My love, they wouldn't, she said, even as she knew they would. Bail smoothed his hands over hers and touched their foreheads together. At least we will be together. No! She refused to believe it. How could such evil exist? There must be time. The spaceport is too far, but we could reach our private shuttle. We could evacuate as many as possible. There must be something, anything that we can. The sound was incredible. They turned toward it in awe and dread. A deadening of air that pulled all noise from around them before a tremendous blast, like lightning, rent the air. Bail yanked her into his arms, squeezing her as light blinded them. A ring of white that grew from horizon, spreading fast, bringing trees, beasts, and rocks with it. She made it out, Breha whispered, trembling hands balled in his cloak, her eyes disbelieving, watching as the planet itself burst with 1,000 bright, terrible geysers. I would know if she was gone, Bail. She lives. He kissed her forehead, leaving his lips there as the palace shook under them, and the beams holding the balcony aloft screamed and gave. The attendants inside their apartments gave a wail of fright, and the castle sagged with no ground left beneath it. Her bones hurt. It felt like they were being shaken apart. She lives, Bail said once more. Breha closed her eyes. I know. The mountains rose up, folding toward them, swallowing them whole. She felt her husband's warmth, his breath on her neck, then the scent of ash and smoke, and in the next moment, oblivion. This book is great as we finally get some closure to what happens to Breha and Bail, some of the most loving parents that Star Wars has seen. And it's a heartbreaking tragedy. And we do know eventually everything that happens, yada yada yada. The galaxy's saved until all this new stuff that's out. That being said, I'm done for now. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Check out my Patreon page. And of course, like and subscribe if you can, because that'd be great. Anywho, to Bail and Breha, great Alderaanian parents, and to Princess Leia, who we will always miss.